morning. I hope that you're well. A little bit late, but not as such. You have gotten that moment of motivation, and I am here to start the day for you. A beautiful Thursday morning. I hope that yours was a great night as mine, and we're all looking forward to greatness. How the week is flying so fast, and so much more. We're also counting days to the general election, and we're saying, in all this, 18 days to it, Kenyans are determined to make sure that they get the next dispensation in a smooth, peaceful moment. And so that's what we're crossing hands for at this very moment as we continue discussing matters politics. And that's exactly what we'll be doing this morning. I'll be having politicians on board for the very same conversation as we just take a look at how far we have come in terms of preparing ourselves for the general election. A bit of pockets and hiccups here, but we all hope that such would be addressed. This culminating from the preparedness of IEBC, what it is that we see in different quarters, different areas as pertaining to how they have managed to plan and, to prepare those ones that are going to be returning officers that will be on this very ground. So as we have this conversation, we open the lines for you to be part and parcel. Hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela at TV47KE. That is across all our social media platforms. 22047 is the SMS short code, and then we get to sample some of your comments as we continue as well. We appreciate the phone calls that we always have, just having discussions with you back at home, and therefore we say the lines will be open, running on your screen in a bit, so that you can as well contribute to the same through that phone call. So karibu sana as we get into this as well. Remember, today is Thursday, and therefore there's going to be that moment of fitness. We always say it's important that we all stay fit. So on Fitness Thursday, we'll be having a session where we get into the moment of workout. So as we get into this, please make sure that you are with me up until 10 a.m. It's going to be about greatness as I as well tell you what is happening in the world of news. My name is Linda Lela. The broadcast that is Morning Cafe right here on TV47, the home of untold stories, begins right away. The newspapers this morning, the Standard newspaper, the People Daily, as well as the Daily Nation are the papers that I have this morning. I'm sure some of you will be asking me, is Modoni Maina here with us? Unfortunately, she is not here with us. I guess I have to struggle so hard to convince her to be part of the Morning Cafe family, but we appreciate the fact that she's been with us for about 2-3 days, in this session. So the Standard newspaper this morning, Kenya Army gets new commander in military promotions. These adjustments will always be there as we get to see just how much he brings in a difference as to the same. A story captured on page 14, and we'll be getting to understand how these changes are instrumental towards making sure that the Kenya Army then is able to function well. They say Uhuru former aide named Army commander in changes. Njeri takes over from Lieutenant General, that is Walter Koipaton, who retires on completion of 4 years of duty. And so we'll be looking at that as we continue as well. One of the stories that has been captured, fuel subsidy set to end in 3 months. This is a story captured on page 5 as well. We have seen the adjustments that have been there, and also the World Bank as well, saying that they're not going to be part of this in terms of pushing for the subsidy. This is a story that has been captured on page 5. That is to say that perhaps it will be tough times ahead as pertaining to how as a country we're able to manage this. Remember, one of the reasons why we're having the cost of commodities extremely expensive is because of the high cost of fuel in the country, as they would say, and therefore we get into this conversation getting to know just how best this can be addressed at this very point when the conversation is about the adjustments that have been made on the prices of unga. This is a story that is on page 5 as it is captured right here inside Uhuru's low price unga deal after talks with big millers as well, captured on page 5. And so it's about the high cost of living and the adjustments that the government is making to cushion Kenyans at this very tough time. So we look at this and we get to understand just why it is that the government cannot really make this, a little bit longer. So 3 months after, then we go back to the tough times of expensive, fuel that culminates to making commodities in the market more expensive. That aside, it is the big story inside Uhuru's deal on unga again. I have touched on the same. It's been the talk of the town for the better part of this week, just days after World leaked on plan to slash cost of maize or maize flour. Details of high-stake negotiations have emerged as a cost of living takes a center stage in campaigns. This has been captured on page 5 and page 6 of the Standard newspaper. We decipher on that as we continue with the broadcast. As to matters education, requests or demands for adjustments in terms of payment and making it better for teachers to manage. Teachers push for 60% pay increase. The lowest paid teacher will get an increment of 14,550 and the highest 89,016 if a new push by NAT for a salary review is approved by the TSC. This is a story that has been captured on page 7 as well. It finds itself on the front page of the Daily Nation, and it speaks of what really are the demands and the adjustments that are likely to be made and what they will incorporate. They say it's about a 60% raise and review of the 2021-2025 CBA, promotion of teachers who acquired higher qualifications, and a 4.5 billion for teachers professional development program, as well as a TSC to provide a clear grading system for teachers and also teachers in similar job groups to have equal promotion opportunities. TSC to consider local communities when promoting teachers, that is in arid and semi-arid areas. And lastly, TSC to give job evaluation guidelines to SRC to guide the profession. That is what would inform these adjustments that are going to be made upwards in the event that there is that approval by the TSC. It will cost about 971 million to get Kigame on the ballot. Well, the tough times that IEBC is facing, the court battles and the adjustments then that they have to make in the event that those ones that have gone to appeal on different matters are successful in their bid. And now the IEBC says it may be forced to postpone elections if it has to include musician Reuben Kigame on presidential ballot after the courts again gave him some reprieve in regards to the fact that he was not so lucky to be cleared by the IEBC. Remember, we had about 57 presidential candidates that had presented their names, or aspirants that had presented their names to the IEBC. And in the scale down, we got to 4. That is Gakuya of Roots Party, as well as Agano party leader, that is David Mwaure, Deputy President William Ruto of UDA and the Kenya Kwanza Alliance, as well as the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, who's the Azimio One Kenya principal. And so expect big poll disruptions if we add Kigame on the ballot once, or IEBC once, and we do not know how much Kigame would accept for IEBC to move on with the elections as planned without putting his name on the ballot. Commission appeals court decision to have it reconsider the singer's papers. As well, agency says it may have to postpone polls since money required to make these adjustments can only be available after 30 days. So we will be following up on this, a developing story, and we get to see just how possible, or the possibilities of having Reuben Kigame then incorporated in the ballot as a presidential candidate are. And those are the stories on the Standard newspaper. Front page of the Daily Nation as well on this question of matters education, as I have said, and NAT demands 60% pay raise, that is for teachers. And so we're looking at that to see whether the TSC will give a nod to the same. The biggest story inside Uhuru's deal on Ugali, just days after work. Oh, sorry, this is a bit different. Yes, it's a different. I had a different, soft hard copy. So the hard copy and the front page, we pick about 18 days to the general election. Raila vows to repossess Ruto land, and the ground in a letter to Lands Minister and Anti-Corruption Commission, that is agency. Azimio claims that the deputy president irregularly acquired about 2,500 acres in Taita Taveta, and once title deed help held pending setting up of a commission of inquiry as captured on page 7. We are privy to this conversation when Deputy President William Ruto went to the coast, saying that, well, he was lucky that he was gifted the land by former Member of Parliament Basil after he assisted him to pay off a loan that he owed to the Agricultural Finance Corporation. As well as Azimio's claim, Secretary General Junet Mohammed says in letter to agencies that Ruto violated the Public Office Ethics Act, that is 2003, and the Leadership and Integrity Act 2012. And the threat, Azimio wants Land CS Farida Karunei to preserve the status quo of the title documents, pending formation of a commission of inquiry aimed at recovering the land. We wait to see how this then will be addressed. And also just bringing to the fore the possibility of hunts, or I don't want to say political witch hunt, but definitely, you know, across all the sides, those ones that are vying for presidency are telling the people of Kenya that they are going to put up the fight on the question of corruption. And so it doesn't matter who, that in the event that these individuals then will have gotten proceeds out of corruption, then they will be dealt with accordingly, you know, raising some fear as to just how the likes of Kenya Kwanza would handle the likes of President Uhuru Kenyatta in the event that he's out of power, as well the likes of Azimio One Kenya would handle, you know, Deputy President William Ruto and many other people in the event that they are lucky enough to ascend to the power. So we'll be looking at this question of the battlefront that opens 18 days to the poll, and we see of what implications or of what ramifications then this would be. Hits and misses in Rigathi and Karua exchange, that is on Tuesday evening at the Kenya Kwanza presidential running mate walked into the stage, well, underdog wearing the tag of So how did his uppercuts against his Azimio counterpart impact the trajectory of the debate? This on the question of analysis of this historic moment where the two had a chance to speak to the people of Kenya in relation to what they bring on the table for their presidential candidates in terms of campaigns, as well as trying to woo the people or the different people in the country to get to their side, as captured on page 8 of the Daily Nation. Uhuru to his deputy: keep politics away from Unga. And Kenyatta laments politicization of the cost of living, and he says that that should not be the direction, that perhaps we should appreciate that, you know, the government has made efforts to make sure that Kenyans then are, you know, cushioned at this tight moment. Pair of shorts found in Maribe house had murder victim's blood. Former journalist caught up in a murder trial, pressed to explain damning evidence towards the very last minutes of this case. A story captured on page 10, developing one, and we get revelations of that to keep you up to tabs. Those are the key stories on the papers this morning. Later on, with my guests, I'll be deciphering or getting into the in-depth analysis of these ones. But as of now, let's briefly take a look at what is happening in the world of news. I realize that there's really nothing much on the roads that would probably require our attention. In the event that there's anything, remember the lines are open wherever it is that you are. Please enlighten us on how the roads look like this morning, so that we all are at par and really do not get delayed to our destinations. Evidently not so much. Pangani area is where you'd find some tenets of traffic, because it's pretty much common around there. Different vehicles from different roads converge there as they get into the city. Also Outer Ring Road around Kariobangi South Primary, it's a bit clogged up, as you can see. Those are the key areas where there's some tenets of traffic. Down around Manyanja Road, Donholm Railway, as they get to connect to Makadara as well, that is Jogoo Road. Around Outer Ring Road, you definitely get some tenets of traffic. Those are areas that you need to look out on if you're taking, you know, these directions. The Eastern Bypass is notorious in question of traffic. Morning, it's an ease. The Kangundu Road going all the way is not looking bad. Let's see what Thika Road looks like down from Githurai and all the way to the city. No cause for alarm up until this area that I have mentioned, that is Pangani area. And down on this other side, Jogoo Road, some tenets of traffic along Jogoo Road that would get you a bit delayed as well. On this other side, the Southern Bypass is clean. Mombasa Road down from this side of Imara Daima. Let's see whether there's anything that would get us worried. Interestingly, there's not much of traffic along Mombasa Road this morning, and therefore you can enjoy that ride. Around Langata Road, there's some areas around the Wilson Airport where there's some pockets of traffic, alternates of traffic. Therefore, you would expect a bit of a delay in the event that you take this direction. On this other sides, let's see, Ngong Road, not much of traffic that would get you worried, and therefore you'd easily get to your destination on time. Same applies to these sides of, of Waiyaki Way and down to the ABC, down to James Gishuru and all the way to Gitanga Road. It doesn't really look bad this morning. Once again, if there's anything that is happening around you, please make sure that you keep us up to tabs. Let's shelve the roads for a moment and again take a look at the stories of the day. A week after the killing of young men that were linked to notorious confirmed gang that is in Nakuru County, the Independent Medical Unit, IMLU, has now condemned the act of the National Police Service officers at the Kia, that is, and Michael, Nakuru County, in an incident confirmed by the Nakuru new police commander Peter Mwanzo. And as Joash Onsare tells us, well, the reports IMLU has called upon the police service to suspend the office involved and commence investigations immediately.
The Independent Medical Legal Unit, IMLU, has condemned the alleged killing of 4 men by National Police Service officers on the night of July 14th, 2022 at Kiamaiko, Nakuru County. According to the new Nakuru Police Commander Peter Mwanzo, the 4 Collins Kibet, 16 years, Collins Kipkorir, 21 years, Kevin Kipyegon, 20 years, and Dennis Kipchirchir, 23 years, were gunned down by police officers who were on a night patrol. Mwanzo alleging that the young men were part of a notorious gang known as Confirm. In a press release by IMLU, says the execution of the 4 was premeditated, planned and executed. The finding by IMLU indicate that family members and the neighbors witnessed as the police officers picked the 4 from their houses in Kwamaiko village, Barut, Nakuru West Sub-County. IMLU says they were thereafter taken to Dennis Kipchirchir's house in Kwamaiko village, where they were executed in cold blood. Witnesses' reports indicate that there was no violent confrontation with the officers, as earlier reported by the police commander Peter Mwanzo. The findings by IMLU further indicate that after execution, police officers from the Ronda police station took the 4 bodies to the Nakuru County Referral Hospital Level 5 Hospital PGH for preservation. Further witnesses' report shows that the police officers who executed the 4 had picked other suspects who were released after being roughed up. IMLU has condemned the action, calling upon immediate suspension and investigation of the Nakuru County Commander's responsibility in these executions. IPOA and the Internal Affairs Unit undertake thorough investigation into the killings. The public to come out and share any information regarding this matter to IPOA and the IAU. The government to reinforce the core duty of a police officer as stated in the National Police Service Act of 2011, which is to protect life and property and respect human rights. The Independent Medical Legal Unit, IMLU, has promised to continue to monitor the situation as clock ticks to the August 9th general election. Joash Onsare, TV 47.
All right, well, that is Joash Onsare with that very report. And yes, developing story we get to have more answers as pertaining to the same. But as well, there's still more that has been captured in the world of news, and therefore I am here to make sure that you are up to tabs as to the same. Remember, the hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. That is how you get to interact with us. Some of these stories will be forming the basis of our conversation, and therefore we'll be getting to them in a few alongside my guests. Remember, the SMS short code as well is 22047, as is captured right there. You can as well call us live for this. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV47KE. Now, the Kenya National Union of Teachers says that it has commenced a structured negotiation process with its employer, the Teachers Service Commission, demanding a 60% salary increase, further stating that it is committed to enhancing a better working relationship and environment with its employer. Andrin Kilemi now reports. We shall never be divided.
Kenya National Union of Teachers Wednesday unveiled topical issues and solutions addressed between the union and its employer, the Teachers Service Commission, in a 3-day retreat in Naivasha.
We arrived in Naivasha on the 6th. We had discussions with Teachers Service Commission on the 7th, on the 8th, and on the 9th of July to discuss matters affecting our teachers in this republic. Both teams were to get to know where rain started beating us and the best way possible to have our teachers served by the employer.
According to NAT boss Colin Soyu, the union is pushing for promotions and a 60% salary increment for teachers.
That the commission rolled out a policy on promotion of teachers. This policy, which to an extent was actually extracted from the 2017-2021 CBA. It removed promotions based on higher qualifications to appraisal mode. This policy has disadvantaged many of our teachers who have qualified in higher qualifications as they went to read, and it also disadvantaged most of our teachers who were and still in administrative positions of leadership.
Other demands made by the union include recognition of teachers with higher academic qualifications, appointment of teachers with the requisite qualifications, grading of teachers to be made clear just like in the past, review of administrative qualifications in the hard-to-staff areas, and online application for promotion for administrative positions.
No teacher whatsoever should lose financially out of being transferred or being promoted. It is ironic, ladies and gentlemen, that one is promoted and then he or she loses some of the benefits they really worked for and very hard.
Oyu further pushed for the delocalization policy in order to streamline transfer of teachers, adding that the policy has been repealed. The union further stating that it is committed to enhancing a better working relationship with the employer TSC. Andrin Kilemi, TV 47.
And now, running battles between anti-IEBC demonstrators and police officers were witnessed in Kisii County IEBC offices, and leading to the injury of one officer and the destruction of property worth about millions of shillings, as Lucky Hiriano filed that report.
These glass windows at the resource center vandalized shows how the protesters engaged the police officers in a long day stone throwing. The demonstrators, who have been pitching tent at the IEBC offices, have been pushing for the removal of some IEBC officers from the county, whom they accuse of planning to rig the August general elections. Governor Ngwae, among other leaders, condemned the violent demonstrations.
I am told that some of the animals have been stolen and they cannot be traced. And apart from the violence that was meted, because I saw one police officer with a very, very deep cut on his head. I saw it on social media. And for me, as a governor, I can't understand why this should happen. And why this should be allowed in a civilized society. This is completely unbecoming, and I want to castigate it in the strongest possible terms.
Once we started discussing those issues, all of a sudden there is the protesters outside, and indeed it was confirmed that these protesters were not just here. They were in other stations around the county.
Ya kustabisha. Tulianza kuongea maneno ya insecurity iko hapa kwa county. Haswa vile bana zetu na posters zinakuwa mutilated na zinatolewa, supporters wetu wanachapwa, wanapigwa, na candidate mmoja anajulikana kutoka chama yangu Bwana Simba Arati, taharuki katokea.
We have been having problems since the campaigns started. We have never been given a fair ground for campaigns. When we have big rallies, we get that wounds are brought there. There's a lot of intimidations, that we are not given a room to air our sentiments or to share our policies to the people.
Police officer will, however, calm the situation after the running battles. Reporting for TV47, I'm Lucky Hiriano.
Residents of South Mugirango area, Kisii County as well, are crying out for justice over a mysterious murder of a 74-year-old lady whose body parts were found in a thicket 3 weeks after her disappearance. Paul Muniu with that.
A family in South Mugirango, Kisii County is distressed over efforts to search for their loved one who was allegedly killed and her body dumped into a bush. According to the family, 74-year-old Yunuke Bitengo had left home to visit her friends but never returned until 3 weeks later when they stumbled upon some of her body parts in a thicket.
Kuangalia nikapata kifunguo na nywele. Nikaenda kuuliza jamaa ingine na jamaa ingine akanionyesha picha inapigwa kichwa ya mtu na mkono kama hii nusu niliona kwa hiyo picha. Kurudi kutoka hapo nikakuja nikaambia bibi zangu, nikaamka na bibi zangu mmoja tukaenda pake Tawa police station.
The area residents have, however, criticized the area security authorities, claiming that they delayed to respond after the information was relayed to them.
Serikali iwe ya CID kwa sababu hii kitu iliripotiwa, tunaomba watuambie what is happening, wamefikia wapi hadi wa leo.
Tukaweka ripoti, tukakuja na maskari mpaka hapo, wakabeba hiyo nywele na hiyo kifunguo na hiyo mafupa ilikuwa hapo. Sasa kutoka hapo mimi naendelea kutafuta mama sijampata.
They ask the government to intervene and help them recover the remains of their loved one and deliver justice to the family by conducting investigations that will see the murderers convicted.
Naambia serikali nisaidie, tutafutie huyu mama tupate mahali aliuliwa, atuletee tusike.
Viweze kutusaidia na uchunguzi ili tujue kama kweli mama hayuko hai na amekufa. Tujue mwili yake iko wapi ndio tukuje tushike, na wale waliofanya hii mambo mbaya ambayo si haitaichiki kwa jamii waweze kuchukuliwa hatua so that justice can be given to this family.
Paul Munio, TV47.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, has appealed a High Court order directing the Commission to consider presidential aspirant Reuben Kigame's nomination papers for review and approval. The IEBC chairperson, Wafula Chebukati, in a statement, cited 3 legal issues of why Kigame should not be cleared. Among them, strict timelines that could see the general election postponed if Kigame's name is on the ballot. The matter will be heard today, as Apollo Kamau reports.
The logistical and costly nightmare of including presidential aspirant Reuben Kigame on the ballot was laid bare by IEBC chairman Wafula Chebukati in an appeal objecting to Monday's High Court verdict that ordered IEBC to consider Kigame's bid. Chebukati raised 3 pertinent questions before the appellate court, warning that including Kigame's name on the ballot is likely to jeopardize plans to hold the election on August 9, given the strict timelines and 19 days to the polls.
These are court orders. Court orders have to be obeyed, but then there are consequences to that. That if then we are thrown out of timelines, we may have to make some very, very hard decisions as a commission.
According to Chebukati, the inclusion of Kigame will force the commission to recall, reprogram, and reconfigure all the Kenya Integrated Election Management System KIEMS kits across the 47 counties and the diaspora. IEBC further says it has no budget to print extra ballot papers at a cost of 971 million shillings. The commission has further supported its claims on why Kigame should not be on the ballot, saying it will be forced to reprogram the results transmission system to include Kigame and his running mate.
Itakuwa ni makosa makubwa ikiwa IEBC haitaniweka kwenye ballot, kwa sababu inaweza kusababisha tena kurudiwa kwa uchaguzi, na hatutaki kurudiwa kwa uchaguzi.
Also putting IEBC in a tight spot is a fresh printing of ballot papers, which will have to be redesigned to include Kigame and his running mate. The reprinting, repackaging, rebooking, and rescheduling flights to deliver pallets to the central warehouse for the printer will not be possible in time for the next election, given the entire process will take a whole month. Chebukati, in his 3-point objection, further queries how the High Court arrived at its decision, given Kigame presented 1,013 voters to IEBC instead of 2,000 signatures from the majority of the counties. IEBC has already dispatched 3 of its commissioners to Athens, Greece, to oversee the printing of the ballot papers. Vice Chair Juliana Cherera, Commissioners Francis Wanderi and Bolu Moya. Azimio and Kenya Kwanza have also fronted their agents for the all-important exercise. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has directed heightened security in parts of the coast region following intelligence reports of gangs ahead of the August polls. Matiang'i, however, says the government is set to secure the election, as Patronila Goren details.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i has ordered for beefing up of security in parts of the coast region ahead of the August poll.
Effective next week, locate additional security resources here to back up my colleagues who have done a phenomenally excellent job in keeping this region safe. The only dimension that we have looked at together jointly is aspects in some 2 counties in this region where possibly players in the electoral process may be tempted, and we are noticing some evidence of that temptation to try and mass up small groups that could engage in crime.
Matiang'i says the Interior Ministry has received intelligence that criminal gangs are regrouping in the region. The CS has called on security officers to stay alert and increase surveillance ahead of the general election.
I've asked Mr. Karoli, the regional police commander, to act decisively and expeditiously on any one of those individuals who may make any effort or who may be tempted to try and put groups together, regardless of their status.
The CS was speaking during the official opening of the 86 million First Coastal Anti-Terrorism Police Unit in Mombasa. The facility, which has been funded by the UK government, is said to aid the country's capability in quashing terror threats.
Following this facility, we now need to start preparing to build a court facility here, similar to the one we have at Shimola Tower and the one we have at Kamiti Maximum Prison, so that while we hold terrorists in these facilities, we are also able to process them through the justice chain.
In 2019, 181,000 British nationals found their way to Kenya, many of them enjoying the wonderful, wonderful things that this country has to offer. We want to keep them safe, and the only way we can do that is by working with the government of Kenya, supporting the government in our shared interest to keep Kenyans safe, but to keep its visitors to Kenya safe and to keep the tourism flowing.
Patronila Goren for TV47 in Mombasa County.
Nairobi, including Dagoretti North and Dagoretti South. The duo were drumming up support for Kenya Kwanza presidential candidate and other Kenya Kwanza candidates in the region. During the rally, Mudavadi told of Azimio's running mate Martha Karua for what he termed as failing to defend and elaborate their manifestos, that is to Kenyans, during the televised deputy presidential debate held on Tuesday. Bungoma Senator, on the other hand, asked Kenyans to reject Azimio and vote for Kenya Kwanza candidates. Take a look.
Asante. Sasa bila kupoteza wakati, hata nyinyi wenyewe mkiona debate ya kwanza, Sakaja saliangusha project ile inaitwa Igade. Saliangusha Igade vizuri kabisa. Na jana Rigade sasa Gachagua na yeye aliangusha project ya pili. Aliangusha nani? Aliangusha Karua. Sasa project ya kwanza Igade iko chini.
Na ndugu zetu wadago, msije mkadanganywa na deep state. Juzi nimeona wakisema, na lazima muangalie kabisa, ati wanataka kuteremsha bei ya unga for 4 weeks. For 4 weeks. Alafu kwa kimaliza warudi pale. We can see right through them.
Now, Azimio la Umoja One Kenya running mate Martha Karua has told off their opponent William Ruto for what she termed being disrespectful to his boss, leading to poor relations. Karua says his boss under Azimio la Umoja One Kenya, Raila Odinga, is focused on bringing change to the country and to ensure peaceful cohesion and coexistence if they clinch the next government. Karua spoke during her campaign meeting in Kirinyaga County while meeting women drawn from the region. She rallied women to support the Azimio la Umoja government, urging them to be the ambassadors of Azimio government by spreading the message of goodwill.
Wina siana, wina tususu. Ni urandire twakwa bwae we uraroretie TV. Na nimewashauri kuchagua wale wameonyesha ni viongozi na wanaweza endeleza kazi kulingana na sheria zetu. Watu wenye uadilifu, watu ambao wanaweza aminika, watu wako na heshima, na ukiwa na heshima na watu utaheshimu mali yao, watu ambao wako na utu, watu ambao wako na zile tabia sisi wa mama tunawaambia watoto wetu waige. Kwa hivyo nimewaomba wawe ambassadors wa kuuliza kura kila mahali. Nchi haiwezi endelea bila heshima, bila kuaminika, bila utu. Na nchi hii wamama ndio kila kitu. Kwa hivyo mimi mwenyewe namshukuru kinara wangu Raila Amolo Odinga kwa kunipatia hii nafasi ya running mate. Ananijua, ananielewa na anajua iko mahali nitasema mbaya ni mbaya. Lakini hana uoga, sababu nia yake ni kufanyia Wakenya nini? Ukiona mtu akichukua Martha kama running mate, ujue nia yake ni nzuri. Lakini ni mtu tushafanya kazi na yeye na tunaweza fanya kazi na yeye. Hata kampeni si mnaona tunafanya tu poa. Si kama wengine wako na uoga wa kuwa pamoja.
Well, it was a collision of responses, ideas and proposals between Kenya Kwanza's Rigathi Gachagua and Martha Karua of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya during the deputy presidential debate. Integrity, corruption and cost of living took center stage in the 90 minutes discussion, and as our very own Moige William reports, both running mates to presidential flag bearers of United Democratic Alliance and Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance respectively.
In the second tier of the deputy presidential debate, Rigathi Gachagua of UDA and Martha Karua of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya took on each other on a number of issues in a 90 minutes debate at the Catholic University of Eastern Africa Tuesday. two, who stated they understand the role of a deputy president, did not hesitate to put out to the public their take on the fallout between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto.
William Ruto is not an appointee of President Uhuru Kenyatta. He is elected by the people of Kenya.
Entertaining disagreement outside government and publicly is disruptive. No wonder the government in which Mr. Gashagua's principal serves is unable to fight corruption because it's pulling in two different directions.
Though differing on the fallout of President Kenyatta and his deputy, the two were in agreement that the constitution should not be amended to make the deputy president position an appointive one.
It is not that we need to amend to prescribe the relationship between the president and a deputy president. It is that we need to change our behavior, differ with respect.
Rigathi and Karua did not hold back at anything when the issue of corruption came up. The two blaming the current tough state of economic affairs on corruption in the current Uhuru Kenyatta-led administration, but differ on how to tackle the matter.
No mother has baptized their children the name corruption. It's a behavior an individual deliberately chooses.
I'm saying there will be a commission because the real corruption that we need to deal with, not what Honorable Mother is talking about, is state capture and conflict of interest.
They were tasked to declare their wealth, with the heat turning up on Rigathi, where he was forced to explain how he acquired his wealth. Karua's land ownership also came up after Gachagua linked her with the controversial Ngariama land.
I applied for tenders and competed, open tenders and won, and did construction business and did supplies, and nobody is complaining. The people of Kirinyaga have been complaining that she used her office as justice minister to take land in South Gariama and give it to her relatives. But that is just an allegation.
The current administration that is there, and I'm not in power in Kirinyaga, that if there is truth to that allegation, then they must swiftly take me to court and recover.
Karua was also hard-pressed to explain the BAT scandal that she was accused of receiving money from the international firm.
The matter has been investigated in UK and the file has been closed.
Another bone of contention was President Uhuru Kenyatta in Azimio la Umoja, with Rigathi stating their rivals were state projects.
But he's trying to circumvent the constitution to plant a proxy government to continue governing from outside State House.
My colleagues and his captains' beef with the president should not make them use this forum or use us as candidates to fight the president. We represent the aspirations of Kenyans.
Down with the deputy presidential debate, up next on the 26th of July is the presidential debate, where a face-off is expected between William Ruto of UDA, Azimio la Umoja Raila Odinga, while David Moore of Agano Party will take on Roots Party George Gakuya. Moige William, TV47, Nairobi.
Thank you, Moige. Also, one story that forms the basis of our conversation this morning. On that very note, we take a quick short break and then we come back with the panel.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. Here's our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent, I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
Well, do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business. Farming. Tasty Wednesday Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why nilieka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6:30 p.m. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap.
The numbers to call will be running on your screen. I'm sure later on we'll have that moment as we speak of all this. Importantly, we get into a conversation that revolves about, revolves around the question of politics. 18 days to it. Just how well set are we? How is the IEBC in terms of preparation, and how are the voters in terms of understanding what they need to go out there and vote? And when I say what, is on the question of what exactly it is that their preferred candidates then will be presenting in terms of a manifesto, ideology, or whether it's a question of party or tribe. That is what we look into. But above everything, right here, we continue to have these conversations just to enlighten you and perhaps help you make that crucial decision. From the moments of debate and to the moments of these conversations, we all understand how important it is. So that moving forward, it is clear, it is distinct for a majority of us who are of the voting age. And we all hope that many have registered, but most importantly, if you have registered, make sure that you turn out to vote. Vote, make it peaceful, proceed home. Let's wait to see what then IEBC will declare for us. And so in a bit, I'll be having guests that will join me for the conversation this morning, household names or so to speak. One of them will be joining us virtually. The rest are right here in studio. And speaking of which, we have Honorable Gakuya John, a Member of Parliament, Embakasi North, who's also defending his seat. It's been a long time since he was on set. In a bit, I'll allow him to speak to us, but we are delighted to have him this morning, as well as Gloria Orwoba, youth policy analyst, also in studio. Mark Bichachi is the one who's be joining us virtually. Mark Bichachi is a communication strategist. And so as we get to this conversation, please be part of it because we value your feedback. We take a look at what we are at in terms of preparing for the election, as I have said, and so much more that has been captured right here. And are we set with Gloria? Mr. Director? We're set with Gloria. All right, Gloria, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning to you. Been well?
Yes, been good.
I see siasa is going on well.
Siasa ndio sasa imeshika kabisa.
You attended the Deputy President's debate?
No, because we were coming from the Women Charter in Meru, the Kenya Kwanza Alliance Women's Charter. We had our Meru edition.
It looks like you people are really planning yourselves for this one. What goes into the arrangements in terms of making sure that, yes, women are well placed in the event that Kenya Kwanza takes governance?
For starters, we are really focused on checking in the places where they really didn't maybe interact with the Women's Charter. So you'll see that our focus is where we have to get the masses of women who are out there mashinani, and they need to understand, William Ruto's promise to the women. So actually on the day for that debate, we were in Meru. So we came in a bit late because the function was very successful, and the drive from Meru back to Nairobi it took us quite some time. On Friday, we are going to Nyandarua with the Women's Charter. So, I mean, it's a very, I would say it's a very interactive program, and it's a different way of campaign. Yeah, because we're going out to sell the promise that William Ruto has for the women, and make them understand that it's not just about one woman, it's about all these other things that 50 plus million women are going to actually benefit in the event that William Ruto gets in. Free sanitary towels, you know, we have a lot of stuff in that package. So I would say that we are really focused on that, and I'm glad that our candidate actually has put enough effort to make sure that the women in Mashinani really understand what we are selling.
All right, well, all the best in that. But you managed to watch the debate at least?
Yes, I managed to watch the debate. At least the second half of it, I managed to watch.
Well, that is technically what it is that you have been watching, because that's where then your preferred deputy presidential candidate would have been or was. Anyway, so Mheshimiwa, before we get into the details of this, salimia watu, it's been a long time, but I'm told you go ground umeshika kweli kweli.
Thank you very much, Rida. Let me take this opportunity to salute the viewers wherever they are watching us from. It has been a long time, but I think it is healthy to take a break.
Oh yes.
In part of these particular duties. Otherwise, I have been well, but I just decided to just take a leave so as to prepare myself towards the ongoing competitions. Otherwise, I had been catching up with you where with the necessary means outside there. So I've been following what has been going on here. Yes,
we also have been
totally,
up
I haven't been totally out of space.
Out of touch, yeah? Yes. Well, that's a good thing. Thank you so much, and we're happy to have you back. And I have said, truly speaking, we have also been following up on your performance there. Let's wait to see, and we wish you nothing but the best.
Thank you very much, Leader. I hope that the voters from my locality are not tired. I still hope that actually they have a lot of hope with me. And I'm ready to take them on in the next 5 years if they give us that verdict. I'm sure they are committed to it.
All right. Well, all the best once again. Gloria, briefly, because I mean now we are almost getting into making this past tense as we look forward to the presidential debate. We hope that your preferred presidential candidate then will be in attendance, because initially there was that threat that he might not be. But we are happy that we experienced 100% attendance on the Tuesday one. Your submissions as to what you really saw. First of all, you speak highly of women. We had 3 and 1 gentleman. I know, yes, you'd want to speak highly of the gentleman, but then again, what do you make of the fact that women have taken it up? And do you suppose the future is bright, looking at how they debated their fellows?
Yes, definitely. It's actually, it's refreshing to see and to normalize that women can take these spaces of leadership. That's a fact. The thing that I'm avoiding, and the line I'm avoiding to go to, is where we expect that just because you're a woman, you're going to get a free pass. Getting to those levels, definitely congratulations to the women that were there. And then from there, it is the content and how you carry yourself. I mean, really, the competition cannot be that because you're a woman, we'll give you a free pass. We won't, check the kind of content that you have, how you debate, your promises to the electorate. So, again, I would say, past the gender card, we still have to look at your capabilities, your and how you do in the competition, because all we are looking for as women is a fair, level ground to compete. First of all, I'd say I'm actually, I would like to say to the Media Council that they did a good job, because initially when we had the gubernatorial, the Nairobi gubernatorial debate. I was disappointed by the fact that they had 2 tiers of debate. They had 2 levels. That the Media Council had already decided, based on whatever their opinion polls or whatever guided them, that they would have a debate for those who are not really, the front runners, and then a debate for the people they thought. But for me, if you had asked me, they should have all been put at the same, level, because they are all gubernatorial candidates, and we could have just, as
we're bright enough to know.
As the electorate, we can decide, okay, no wonder this one is not doing so well. But you see, when the Media Council made that decision for us, even just in your mind, you are like, watch part 2, because the second one is the one where it's for the serious candidates. So why I'm saying I'm happy to see that the Media Council did not change that format, because I was actually calling them out and saying that if you did that for the gubernatorial debate and you decided, then it has to cut across on all the debates, which actually I saw they did. So they at least did not subject my presidential candidate to Wajakoya, which was the plan initially. So I would say at least they're trying to take the feedback from people, and they're
what do you mean when you say that they did not subject your presidential candidate to Wajakoya? And because this hugely worked on by all the medias across, most under the head of the Editors Guild, or under the Editors Guild, and the Presidential Secretariat and all. So you are saying that you're looking forward to a 26th where it will not be Ruto and Wajakoya on the same podium.
No, the point is, the last 2 weeks, the media, the channels that they have generally they've been trying to elevate a candidate that really is not a front runner.
Is it?
You look at the polls that are being cooked up and are being pushed. In fact, the other candidate actually came out and said, even if I scored 0 in the polls, I am a candidate. Why are you not mentioning me? Because even it had reached a point where they would poll, they would give, cook the polls the way they are cooking them, but they would only announce 3, and Wajakoya was amongst the 3. So there was an intentional approach of trying to elevate him by using all these platforms and trying.
Gloria? Yes. You think he's not gained this?
No, he has not. And trying to say that, this guy is doing so well. Look now, from 2%, he's at 4%. At one point, there's even.
Are you worried that he's taking a chunk, or as many as
because these are
many
all
would say that he's taking a chunk from the hustler?
These are all cooked up polls, and there's a narrative that's being created so that in the event that our competitors actually find a way to rig the election, they can justify it by the narrative that they are creating. And what we are saying is, he's actually a creation of the media, and he's a creation of, there's a hype that's being created around him, and then the electorate is trying to be sold the idea that you might not be the one voting for him, but somewhere out there there's a 4%. So that's why I'm saying, because they did the 2-tier debate for the gubernatorial candidate, I was shouting and saying, we are waiting to see how you're going to do the other debates, because it is very clear that you have the front runners legitimately, and then you have the others. And since you have decided to choose for us, so for me, I was like, thank God that at least that was fair. But to be honest, the other thing that you could see was a creation of the media. The hype that was created around Martha Karua was a creation of the media. There was a lot of hype during the naming of Martha Karua's, running mate position. There was really, how you can actually
prepared. I mean, you mentioned yours in Karen. They did and made sure that this was an event.
But after
so how is that a hype of the
2 weeks
media?
after that, and in fact, we literally had to battle it out here in studio and elsewhere, where we were trying to be pushed out of talking about issues and the economy and everything, and then talking about one woman and gender. And there was a creation, it was a hype. And you know what, I'm glad that the debates actually showcased that there was nothing there really.
Hold it, Gloria. Let's allow Mheshimiwa come in. Mahesh, you watched the debate and you are listening to Gloria's analysis, a totally different tweak to, what it is that we have had in terms of, analysis or post-analysis or post-debate and analysis. And so here we are. Clearly, they argue that Wajakoya somehow has eaten into the votes of the hustler nation, and this really does not sit well with those ones that are members or supporters of Deputy President William Ruto. Do you suppose that the planning and the setting, and also just having different tiers of faces to debate on this would create a difference, would help the hustler nation not lose his to the likes of Wajakoya?
First and foremost, let me say that the planning of these particular elections debates are totally different from the previous. Because personally, I was not convinced that the panel should be a panel of 2 criteria. And I thought that, in fact, if it's a panel of gubernatorial positions, they should be at one table, all of them. Let them face the electorate, let them face questions directly, let the debate be interactive from that particular perspective. But setting people aside, it's like you have already decided these are lesser and these are the winners. Or in case, or these are the losers and these are the
but based on what Gloria says, Mahesh, that it is a creation of the media, that Wajackoyah is not as popular, how then would you argue that they have decided that these are the less and these are not the less? I mean, isn't it obvious then that evidently they are all those ones that have an upper hand in comparison to the others?
My take on this is that I have been expecting that both the debates, both the gubernatorial and presidential debates, they should accommodate all the candidates at one panel, but not separately. Like the one which was done for deputies. Actually, if Justina was amongst Mother Karwa and the rest, she could have shined more than Mother Karwa, is according to me. Why? But setting her aside with a different criteria may have outshined her. But in this particular case, I would say, yes, those who decided to go that route have their own facts and they have their own way, the reason why they took that direction. Let me say also that as Wajackoyah has been very stormy on a question that if he's not going to be put to the panel of the three, between him, Laida and Ruto, he will not attend. And this has been repeating this daily, almost daily. I would think that, in fact, the best way was allow all the candidates, the full number of presidential candidates to be at the one panel, at the one roof. Yes, let the public face them. Let them also face the public and the panelists. And that would be the best way to go about it, because at the end of the day, you'll be able to say, this person is the winner of the debate. But when they are put on different clusters, then making a choice of who has won the debate is not easy.
But just how important is it to win the debate? Mark Bichachi joins us virtually. Thank you so much for creating time, sir. And it's about the deputy presidential debate. Just how important is it for an individual to appear as though they take a lead in how they debated? Does that then translate to, you know, the votes? Does it accord them an upper chance in terms of getting to win the election?
Is not going to be determined by the winner of the debate, but what is going to be determined by the winner of the debate is their perception of their capacity to handle issues, their grasp of national matters, and their ability to manage themselves in a public field. The debates allow us a window outside of campaign-style rhetoric into interrogating how the candidates feel they are going to run the campaign, how they feel they are going to move it forward, how they feel that they are going to be able to achieve the goals that they had. Now, if we look at the debate that just passed, you see the running mate of Wajackoyah having outshone her competitor in that particular debate. When you look at the debate between Martha Karua and Rigathi Gachagua, you can see a Rigathi Gachagua who needed a Kenya for the to answer some questions. He had to have a piece of paper to read. And you see a Martha Karua who seems to have changed tack, who's more calm and collected. She stayed focused on the message, did not attack Gachagua, did not come out as though she's out there to fight. And all of these things play into the psychology of the masses. So the masses now begin to think of Martha as more accommodating, less combative. At the same time, they look at Rigathi Gachagua as someone who, with the right education and the right cheat sheet, will be able to deliver. So that's really what the debates do. They shape the public's perception of someone's ability to handle issues and to handle themselves in public office. Now, in terms of, because I heard Gloria complaining thoroughly about Wajackoyah, I don't think it is fair to simply cast doubt and castigate someone simply because they have popularity. Because if you say they are a creation of the media, then Gloria, what are you and I? We are also creations of the same media, and there's nothing wrong with someone getting attention for his ideas, because Waiga Maure also has ideas. Unfortunately, they have not gathered enough enthusiasm to be followed by Kenyans as much as Wajakoya is. And I think any candidate running for president worth his salt needs to look at Wajakoya seriously, because it could cost you that 1%, it could cost you that 2%, and that is a lot of votes. I must remind you that 1% of votes is around 500,000 votes. So let's not simply say, so it's around 250,000 votes. So let's not say that we are going to simply castigate Wajakoya and ignore him, in as much as we may not be in his camp. He needs to be taken seriously. He is a credible threat, and he will come third in the election, true, but will he come third and force a runoff, or third and force one of the leading candidates to lose the election? And that's just the reality of the matter.
All right, well, interesting. Gloria, and I want to ask you this. I don't know how much you...
Before I lose this thought, because he mentioned about how Martha Karua came off, she's not combative and she's not... Do you know, that was not Martha Karua. That is not the Martha Karua that, you know, when people were celebrating, she was named as a running mate. That's not the Martha Karua people were celebrating. And by the way, if her team of advisors or whoever, you know, actually talks to her about how to, you know, appease to the electorate, she lost votes because of that debate, because she tried to be something that she isn't. When Mark Bichachi says, you know, not coming out combative, that's not how Kenyans used to see her. Kenyans used to see her as affirmative and someone who's not a pushover. And in that debate, there was someone else. The whole idea of flanking your grandchildren so that you can appear as though, even if you don't have a spouse, you know, you're a person who values family, was completely unnecessary. People who know Martha... Was it necessary
for Rigathi Gachagua to start at the very point that he started? Was it not jibes being fired?
How do you know Rigathi Gachagua? You know, the difference between Gachagua and Martha Karua is that Martha Karua has been in the media, Martha Karua has been in this game, Martha Karua, we know Martha Karua for who she is. Gachagua, we know him for what we read, and we have not been subjected to him, and the few times that people have actually had him talk publicly or whatever, they have really criticized him and formed a wrong opinion of him. And that's why for us, or for Kenya Kwanza, it was important for Gachagua to showcase who he really is, and that was his opening statement. But for Martha Karua,
that was not planned to fire shots and to make Martha Karua uncomfortable.
That was an introduction to the electorate.
Is there anything wrong? Is there anything wrong, Gloria? For we know you. We know you're tough talking, and you always are at that level of stand. But sometimes in politics, you need to change tact to be successful.
Yes.
Do you think she changed tact?
No, and that's what I'm trying to say, and that's what I'm trying. The message that, you know, and actually maybe they should pay me for this. They actually are trying to change a person who the electorate already has interacted with, and we already know who she is. Don't try to change her. When people were celebrating Martha Karua being put as a running mate, they were celebrating a lady or a woman who's actually strong in her opinion, someone who actually is not afraid to speak up her mind, someone who actually is confident in who she is, married or not. But then the person that they tried to put in the debate was like, who is this? Where are the children on stage with her? When have you ever seen Martha Karua flanking her nephews, nieces, grandchildren? Never. When have you ever seen Martha Karua trying to be kind and nice? Never. When have you ever seen Martha Karua actually standing in front and smiling, for instance? I have been following her because I'm a woman also in politics, so as a person of interest. And I even remember the last time she debated, I think as a presidential candidate or gubernatorial. And it was like, there was this huge, people were listening. She was alone, or the screen was actually capturing her, but the way she spoke with the authority and, you know, the firmness, people were like, okay, she's saying something. And then they presented to us.
And if this did not work for her then, again, don't you think it is fair that she changes tact?
It is very unfair that they were actually, trying to make a woman tick societal
Who are
boxes.
these ones that were trying to
Whoever who was advising and putting her together.
So Rigathi Gachagua was advised and was put together to come.
Rigathi Gachagua was presented to the electorate for the first time in a debate.
And prepared to come and hit on President Uhuru Kenyatta
before,
and prepared to come and you know, come with this short.
However way you spin it, you know that was not
I am not spinning, I'm just asking.
That was
I'm
not
just asking. Perhaps before we come to you, Mheshimiwa, because you could be knowing Rigathi Gachagua some more, and we also understand the energy that was put on board by the teams to make sure that, yes, their deputy presidential candidates then would, you know, carry the flag high. Mark Bichachi, you want to say something?
No, I just want to find it quite ironical and hilarious that Gloria Orwoba is on national television saying that Martha was nice, Martha was kind, she was not combative, and then she's saying those things as though they're bad things. Let me put something into perspective. This idea of slapping people, of being arrogant, of pushing the buttons, and if you look at Rigathi Gachagua's approach to the debate was to try and irritate Martha as much as possible. It was the hope of UDA that Martha Karua would be combative so that they can continue to say the things that they like to say about her. So the truth is that in Martha acting the way she did, she showed a better judge of character. She went high when they went low. She was not trying to malign the character of people who were not there. She was not trying to push the debate in an angle that was about conspiracy theories about other people. Instead, she answered quite soberly the questions that she was asked. She explained the Azimio agenda very well, and she was quite articulate. I wish Gloria was complaining, saying that she did not understand her stuff, but she did. I wish Gloria was complaining and saying that she was extremely rude, but she wasn't. So you cannot belittle anyone for rising above the traps that you had set for her, the conversations that you had set for her, and her acting in a sober manner, and then you want to pretend that you lost votes. Which votes? Which votes did she lose? In 2013, when she was combative, she got 50,000 votes. So now when she has upgraded, you got Martha 2.0 because she was still firm. She still knew her stuff. She still talked very tough about the corruption. So what did you want? You were looking for a bloodbath. But unfortunately, Azimio is not the place where slapping is commonplace. Just as one of the UDA leaders is caught on video yesterday slapping someone. That is not the Azimio way. I'm just sorry. I'm sorry to disappoint.
It's not combative. It's fun.
Okay, well, let's allow Mheshimiwa come in. Mheshimiwa, that Martha performed dismally in terms of the Martha that we know, and that Rigathi Gachagua was prepared to come fire shots, to come mention President Uhuru Kenyatta, who was not part of this conversation, as many would argue, 75 times. That really we lost it all in terms of addressing issues that Kenyans would have wished to listen to.
Linda, let me say, in such a debate, you know what is expected. So, in the panel, both candidates were well prepared because Martha is not new in this particular game. I can say Gachagua is new in this particular game, but Martha is not new. Martha contested for even presidential presidential race sometimes back, and therefore, I know she knows all what appertains and what is required and what somebody is supposed to be have prepared to in that particular. But in every single exam that is set, there has to be results at the end of the day. Both candidates performed well, but there has to be a winner of the debate at the end of the day. And let me tell you, you cannot be able to push Kenyans where to go. They have their expectations were to flow from either of the candidates, and at the end of the day, majority has to go along with the candidates that have performed to their expectation. And in this particular debate, I would say Karua was very focal on it. Yes, Gachagua equally was focal on it, and both they met there purposely to It's like ile inaitwa Kakamega bull fight. Yes. And when it is bull fight,
it was a proper bull fight.
Yes, there has to be the strongest bull, even though the size of the bulls are equal. One has to win the battle.
Yeah,
and that's how this.
So who won in this case?
No, I can't say who won, but Kenyans, majority of Kenyans decided Legathe won.
Did they?
This is it. Of course.
All right.
We have seen the rating from every other media, which has given Gachagua from 78, others 61, others 50, and the least was 46.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's interesting. And I won't get into what Gachagua was discussing and all that, because then it's like how many days after. So let's just shelve that one for a moment. But yes, reactions will keep coming as pertaining to this theme. I want us to talk about IEBC preparedness. Are we set or we proceed for a breakfast, Mr. Director? All right, let's continue. The IEBC, Bobasi constituency, you have seen what is happening, Gloria. And it gets us wondering, first of all, just how tolerant people are on ground. And most importantly, just how disappointed others are, but they perhaps choose to keep quiet in terms of, their preparedness and in terms of some of the activities that IEBC is conducting in different quarters. The people of Bobasi appear not to be, happy of the IEBC's doings at this particular level. Do you suppose that adjustments need to be made? And I mean, it's not just Bobasi, but, across the Kisii County.
You know what is happening in Kisii County, unfortunately, is that there's one gubernatorial candidate who's enjoying a lot of freedom to just misbehave, and to cause chaos and to incite people, and because they are protected, by a senior cabinet secretary. Okay. So what is happening is, unfortunately, this candidate has sensed that it's not going to be as easy as he thought. And so they're using this idea that, the returning officers, the president, the POs, and all the IEBC staff members they're trying to create this tribal notion that mbona wametoka a certain place or wherever. And it's actually, it's unfortunate because if you look at the history of how Kisii County was affected with the post-election violence in 2008, this is how it started. It was one person saying, kuna Wakalenjin, kuna Wakikuyu, kuna hawa na hatuwataki. It's the same narrative that this individual is actually pushing his followers to say that it looks like there's going to be rigging because we have certain tribes of IEBC officials who are here, which is a bit, if you ask me actually at this point, we need to take this kind of utterances or this kind of influences seriously. Because what you saw in Kisii County yesterday is just a small, it's like a picture of what would scale up and ultimately be a post-election or pre-election violence case. And unfortunately, this particular gubernatorial candidate has actually also been known for causing chaos, for using goons as a form of campaigning, intimidating people where he has no stronghold so that they don't go out to vote. So he has literally just exported his Nairobi politics, which is based on that, and taken that kind of stuff in Kisii. Now, what is happening in Kisii? All other candidates are pushing back, and they are saying, no, this is not how we do politics in Kisii. You are not going to take us to this chaos. So it has nothing to do with IEBC preparedness.
Oh, yeah?
It has everything to do with an individual who enjoys protection from a cabinet secretary in Kisii County. And it's unfortunate, and I saw the press conference that was put out yesterday. I mean, even the governor, Ongwaya, came out and spoke against it, and you will know that Ongwaya does not even support that gubernatorial candidate because of the same issues. And I think really, if our institutions are independent, if they are, you see, if our Ministry of Interior and Security, I heard the cabinet secretary saying that they are now setting up extra security measures in Mombasa because they have had rumors. He's running to Mombasa fine based on their intelligence. And in Kisii, he knows what is happening. And he's not been verbal about it. We want to understand why. And that's why I'm saying it appears as though this gubernatorial candidate is actually protected by the ministry.
Well, this can be unfortunate, and it is unfortunate, Mark Bichachi, and especially when we are only 18 days to the general elections. And like Gloria says, some of the dangers that culminated or that played out during the 2007-2008 elections started from such angles. How then does the IEBC, focus on making sure that in all this that could be indifferences in politics, then they're not caught in the middle of it, such that blame games would be leveled on them?
There are two things involved in the reality of Kenyan politics. Reality number one is that we have a constitutional requirement that in all appointments that we have regional balance. So when you see people complaining and saying that one particular tribe has been oversubscribed in terms of returning officers and agents within the IEBC, then it is a constitutional question as to whether those returning officers, those presiding officers have been put in place in the right format, because it is expected that there should be a general spread across the tribes, and that is a constitutional requirement. The second issue is an issue of perception. Now, the IEBC needs to not only conduct a free, fair, and credible and transparent election, but they also need to be seen to do so. So if you're telling me that you want me to sit back and ignore the fact that people are complaining that IEBC has recruited people with a tribal bias, then you're asking me to ignore that IEBC is purposely not being transparent, it is being opaque in how it is dealing with this particular issue. And that question is not a question about Simba Arati, which Gloria is trying to make, because I have seen these complaints from across the country, people complaining about how the returning officers have been put in place. Now, is it a fair question? Of course it is a fair question. It's a fair question because we know that Kenya votes largely on a tribal basis. So if, for example, you go to Kikuyu land and you make sure all the returning officers are Kikuyu, for example, or Akalenjin, for example, there is a perception that is given to that kind of thing. If all the returning officers were Luo, it would also create a certain perception. So let us not lie to ourselves here. Every side, whether you are in UDA or you're in Azimio, you need to stand firm and ask the IEBC to be fair, to be credible, and to be balanced in how they are actually covering this election. That is the bottom line. You cannot run away from it. And any person who tries to say, oh, it is a Simbarati thing or it is a who thing, is simply trying to pull the wool off Kenyans' eyes. I think it is critical that the IEBC conducts itself in a manner that is transparent, in a manner that is constitutional, in a manner that will deliver a free, fair, and credible election.
The allegations, yes.
Reader, I'm very bitter on this. Because, one, we cannot sit here to blame the IEBC on issues that are politically instigated. In this particular case, Simba Arati is not new with kills. We have witnessed in the last election.
Okay.
The last election, Simba Arati in Dagoretti North, he said the burning of houses, and actually nothing was taken against him. So that is how people grows and grows here and grows here and grows on. At the end of the day, it becomes worse and worse. In the by-election that we took at Kibera, Simba Arati, I was there, and actually Simba Arati came with goons. They crossed the border and entered to Kibera, and everything went higher. So it is a threat that is very much aware, and he knows how to deal with it. If you do your investigation, you will find that these goons are from the city that are terrorizing Kisii. They are not goons from Kisii. They are goons carried from here to Kisii to terrorize. And that is totally unfair.
Can you substantiate that?
Yes, of course I know. Yes. I'm not new in this game.
Okay.
Yes, I understand. Simba Arati is my friend, and there's nothing that I don't know. And let me tell you, whatever is happening is totally very painful. Because for sure, you cannot force yourself to become whatever you want. And I want to support the sentiments of Gloria, that in fact we have security agents. What are they doing to calm down these scenarios? Nothing is taking stage.
I would want to ask the same question I asked Mark. Then what can IEBC do so that they're not caught at,
I can tell you for sure, the IEBC are just caught at the corner because they rely with Kenya security for areas of that jurisdiction. If the security does not involve itself in this, what do you expect the IEBC to do?
Okay.
Yes, it is like the court orders, that today you get a court order, then they implement and once he tells you please not to implement, what do? And the magistrate cannot go and implement that particular order.
Okay. Yes. And like Mark said, as you come in.
I'm the only one from Kisii in this panel. And I'm very
Mark Bichachi is from where?
No, he's not from Kisii.
All right, you're the only one from Kisii.
I think.
But
I'm surprised that he can speak authoritatively. Like, ask him when was the last time he was in Kisii County. He can't even tell you. By the way, outside from that.
Yes, Mark.
Gloria.
No, if he's interjecting to speak, then
does not limit knowledge. When we know about aeroplanes, it means we come from where Airbuses are produced. Come on, Gloria.
Listen, the politics is local. Politics is local. I cannot sit in studio and claim to understand the local politics from where Mark Bichachi has come from. Politics is local. So let me just say this. Mark will come to you.
As a matter of fact, let's allow Gloria say what she wanted to say, then we come to
as a matter of fact, how many gubernatorial candidates are in Kisii County? That even I can pose to Mark. I'm sure he can't answer. I will tell you, there are more than 5.
Right.
And amongst those more than 5, how many have come and complained that IEBC wako na Wakalenjin peke yake, wako na nini peke yake, wako na how many? We have not heard from, I will tell you, we have not had Machogu and his team, who's our UDA gubernatorial candidate, actually came out to speak strongly against the goonism that has been imported in Kisii by this particular gubernatorial candidate. We have not had Manson coming out to say, Wakalenjin ama Wakikuyu ama nini IEBC wametukosea. We have not had Sam Ongeri coming out to complain about IEBC agents or officials being from a certain place. We have not had so I've talked about Machogu, Ongeri, Manson, then now this Simba Arati actually, other than him sending goons and whatever, can he come and show us a list and say, this is what I'm complaining about? So sometimes also, you can't, yes, IEBC is the authority and the referee of this competition, but there are things that you cannot expect IEBC to intervene.
But don't you think there are loopholes that IEBC would need to seal so that they're not caught in...
When you talk about violence and how do you call it? Goonism or whatever. Goonism and violence being brought about by candidates. Number one, the political party has to play a role there. Like for UDA, it is very clear that if you are caught as a candidate from whatever level, that you are actually pushing for violence, organizing violence, you will go to you'll be suspended, your ticket will even be taken away, and you'll go through the disciplinary actions because we do not condone in any way and we are not going to tolerate it. And that was seen even when some of our candidates went out and spoke things that looked like they were pushing towards violence. They had to come out and publicly apologize and ABCD. But now, Simba Arati is from ODM. Really, what much do we expect when it comes to violence with these people? What honestly, because at the end of the day, I was really avoiding to say this, but I'm asking you, go to Kisii and look at the gubernatorial candidates you have. Why do you have only one person saying that IEBC is not doing they're trying to...
But you also agree that it's not just in Kisii that...
And if that is the issue, Alela, if that is the issue, why are you dealing with that issue violently? Why are you actually pushing people to go and fight the police because of IEBC officials? Why don't you go, even stage a protest and go to IEBC offices, demand to address IEBC and have a sit down? There are civil ways in which you deal. I'm a politician and I reside in Kisii County. And I can tell you that even now, as a woman, because of that kind of goonism that has been imported in Kisii, you have to invest in security, because a person sits and says, okay, who you are to support, they sent for you goons. And that's not something that we are used to in Kisii County.
But so above these parties and above individuals, then that clearly tells us that we have a problem. You know, first of all, morally, and second of all, that we need to have this addressed, because we are not in the best of state. Because if it is going to be that one individual, they trigger this, definitely. In as much as you want to say Machogu is pretty much, you know, comfortable and okay, and would be willing to, you know, speak of the questions of peace, he will be forced to get into the game. He will be forced to get into this kind of animosity.
We are telling our candidates to not get roped in. By the way, we are pushing our candidates, do not be triggered and roped into that violence. A person who's used to using goonism and violence for their political will drag you into things that, and by the way, the electorate in Kisii is very clear. The reason why he has even panicked, I mean, Simbarati in his own right is a household name. He could literally show up in Kisii 2 weeks to the election if he did not have this whole shenanigans happening, and he could get his votes, the ones, you know, legitimately. But the thing that Kisii electorate is actually going against, and the thing that has actually brought his trajectory in Kisii politics down is that goonism that he has imported.
I still want to get this answer.
Get the answer from me. There is a clear instruction to the police officers that they must allow the government to do its job.
Yeah.
In my own constituency, I have been told by one security officer that their hands are tied. They cannot involve themselves directly to evade some issues. That tells you what? We are on our own. Because if the instruction is from above, then how do you expect police to do
Are you trying to say that from above you're still being targeted as members of Kenya Kwanza? Is that what you're
I can tell you for sure. The problem we are having in this particular election is that the government want to intervene and make sure that they will do their game to make sure that they can force things to go their way.
And with this kind of bias,
and the biggest question is, I have just asked you, you take this matter to IEBC, you report the matter. What do you want to, how do you expect the IEBC to take action? The action is that the IEBC will ask the police to do investigation and take action. Are you expecting the same police to do investigation and take action?
Well, good question. Mark Bichachi, with the kind of bile that is evident...
To finalize about this issue of Kisii, let me just finalize it. There is one thing, that actually the gazettement of returning officers was done long time ago. If there was an issue, one would have taken his complaint. Those long time ago, it's not now. If it's issue to do with ROs are from within the areas of that jurisdiction. Do you want to tell us that every single clan of Kisii must be seen as part of those ROs? If a Kisii is a Kisii, would you like that you want to tell us this is this clan and this is this? What the lab is this? My good friend.
Okay. All right, hold it right there. With this kind of bile, Mark, and the allegations that are labeled right here, and that feeling that the Kenya Kwanza, team is being targeted, and that the state is in a mission to make it difficult and unbearable for them in this political season. Do you suppose, like Gloria says, then they have the capability to manage their temperaments, that in all this they will soldier on just to see to it that they convince the electorate, to go through this process peacefully, and most importantly to have them being voted without, causing any form of distraction?
First and foremost, I would like to say that I do not support any form of violence, whether by individuals or by cartels or by state or non-state actors. I think that is totally unacceptable. The question you asked me was about the IEBC, and I refrained myself to answer about the IEBC. But now that the question has become about Simba Arati's behavior and the perceived notion that somehow the state is advantaging and some people are disadvantaging others, is a line that is common. In UDA, if you are caught in a corruption scandal, you say you're being targeted by the state. This is something that we have grown accustomed to. In UDA, you cannot make a mistake individually and take personal responsibility. You're always a victim. In UDA, you must always try to find someone else to blame. So this idea and this notion that UDA are somehow victims, that the deputy president is being abused and mistreated when he has a convoy and a motorcade and does everything that he does within the confines of the state-sponsored deputy president's residence is nonsense. And this kind of victim mentality that they want to get the sympathy card at every corner should be stopped. The other thing that UDA needs to stop is rudeness. The fact that you want to say that we cannot comment about things from Kisii because we are not from Kisii is a very funny thing, because then what are we doing on a national station? We are all from Kenya. We are Kenyans, and we can comment about Turkana just as much as we can comment about Nairobi. We are not authorities based on where we come from. And it is this kind of mentality that we bring into the political stage that then creates this kind of toxic politics, where we want to create fiefdoms across the country. So as a matter of fact, I would like to state that if indeed it is Simba Arati who is in charge of the violence that is being seen in Kisii, I would like to unequivocally say, shame on you, Simba Arati. If it is anybody else, then equally shame on you. There is no space in the Kenyan democratic space for violence, regardless of which side you are from. But let's not play victim here.
Rida, I will just cite you a very simple example. Yeah. We had a meeting at Jacaranda here in Nairobi. Everybody witnesses the deputy president's vehicle being stoned. Where were the security? And security were all over there. Why were they not taking action to make sure that they scatter everybody and give a deputy president a clear route to go to attend the rally? It was a deliberate move that the security is there, but they are not in action. Mm-hmm. Yes, if the deputy president can be on his own, who else do you expect he's safe? Gloria, in this particular scenario we are in.
And I think when you say this and you listen to Mheshimiwa, and definitely you also do not want to sit in a side where you're being targeted and the ground.
The gentleman is telling us that we are creating what we call political sympathy. Political sympathy, how?
How can you stay clear from being, coerced to joining this and in a negative way?
First of all, the only people who play victim are ODM people. Because when we had, for instance, one of our politicians come out and speak certain utterances that were considered to be hate speech, our political party leader, William Ruto, and the political party machinery actually told this politician, you must apologize, you must steer clear, and these are the repercussions. And we saw him publicly apologizing. That is an incident that has happened with 3 or 4 politicians during this campaign under UDA. The same utterances were made by ODM politicians. What did they come out to do? To justify their utterances and to actually say that, why can't they say that they meant it in this context? We have had Raila Odinga come out and say, kila mtu achukue bunduki na risasi. And I came to studio and said, my goodness, at a time when we are just coming out of post-election violence, it doesn't matter what analogy you're using, but bunduki na risasi is not going to cut it. But he came out and justified bunduki ni nini, risasi nini, and he has been using it repeatedly. So you cannot say that UDA members are those who are playing. As a matter of fact, ODM are always trying to justify, and they are the ones trying to get the sympathy votes, but electorate at least is very sensitized and they understand what's happening.
But you at least agree that IEBC should seal all the loopholes. I mean, the openings that would get them.
What is happening is, and I have said this before, those who feel that they are losing this election are looking for someone else to blame, and they're actually setting and laying their ground to run around to courts, reject the results as usual, because they always reject the results, and that's why they're starting to say IEBC this, IEBC that. Now, when you have a politician in Kisii County single-handedly organizing and pushing for violence against the police, police, against the electorate, against his candidates against the followers of his unique competitors. How then you call IEBC to do what? Sincerely, you call IEBC to do what? We are calling for, first of all, Matiang'i, because he is the CS of Interior. He is the one who has the full autonomy of the police, of all the security apparatus. We are calling. They should be calling for who? For Matiang'i. But they can't call for Matiang'i because we know who he supports in the Kisii politics, and that's why we are.
Why would he be interested to support?
For a long time, first of all, even.
But leader, you cannot ask us such a question.
Why not?
When a security minister participates directly in a side camp of a campaign, what else do you expect?
By the way, the moment the rain started beating us is when our cabinet secretaries stopped practicing political obscurity and actually openly declared that they are campaigning for Raila Odinga.
That is a mistake.
Then what happened is, how do you expect? By the way,
where is the neutrality?
Yes, the CS, Matiang'i, with all due respect, has actually come out and made utterances that are clear that he is supporting Raila Odinga. And Raila Odinga is under ODM. And Simba Arati is a candidate of ODM. When Simba Arati misbehaves in Kisii, do you then expect that we call for CS Matiang'i to come and discipline this candidate, or to come and push security to protect the electorate? We don't. We expect him, as he has done, to say, oh, Mombasa kuna moto, tunapeleka security huko.
Mark Bichachi, valid point.
Before you go to him, take note that Matiang'i, because he has taken side at this particular time in juncture, he is protecting his job in the next government. And how can he protect his job?
So are you trying to acknowledge that the next government will be Azimio?
Even the gentleman is Azimio. And he is very clear and open to everybody.
When he says he's protecting himself,
and let me tell you, Raila Omolo Odinga has already assured him that he will be in the next government.
Are you saying
how is he going to protect that position?
The next government?
It is to make sure that anything that is under his disposal is going to be to take its way.
What if Azimio One Kenya does not take the government?
No, they will go home together. And at this particular time, I would assure you, Kenyans are not fools any longer.
Mark Bichachi, before we go for a break in 2 minutes or thereabout, how much of a danger is it that we see some of these CSs outrightly, appearing to support a certain faction or a certain angle of politics, an undoing?
And this is why I say that UDA Takatanga is used to crying wolf all the time. When the time came for CSS to resign and go to do politics, did you notice the number of CSS which resigned to go and join UDA and run for office? Why was it then that when UDA has been campaigning for the last 4 years, why didn't they say that the cabinet secretaries that support them should resign? Why is it only unfair that cabinet secretaries, when they support Azimio, that it is a problem? Why didn't William Ruto complain, for example, when the same Matiang'i they are now castigating here, supported him in 2017? This is the problem in our country. We want to have our cake and we want to eat it too. If it is wrong for a cabinet secretary to support a political divide, then it should have been wrong in 2017 and it should be wrong for UDA too. But today we sit in a country where cabinet secretaries are not apolitical. They are political animals and they are political appointees. You cannot expect they do not have a side. They do not work in the military. The military is the place you would say that the general cannot be part of a political party. And to add insult to injury, the assertion that somehow Matiang'i is the one who moves around with the police in his pockets is wrong. The police is independent, the police has IPOA, and the police has not in any instance, including the instance where they're talking about William Ruto being stoned with his motorcade, the police arrested people. It is on record. And it is not true to say that the police just do not act, because let us look at when Raila Odinga's helicopter was stoned. Where was the police then? You cannot want to say that the police are one-sided. I know that Gideon Moi's motorcade was blocked in Nandi and his life was in danger. Why isn't Tanga talking about these things, inequality? They want to paint a picture that is good for them, that is not real in the democratic space of this country. CSS quit to join UDA. So it means they were supporting UDA. They were supporting the deputy president. Why did he tell them to resign? So there's nothing wrong with any CS. And number two, it is a total lie when you sit on national television and say and pretend that William Ruto is the only one who's faced violence. What about Raila Odinga when his chopper was stolen? What about Gideon Moi? What about when Raila Odinga was stoned in Githurai? Come on, people. You know, we need to be balanced in these things. I know you are in UDA, but please give a balanced opinion.
But, we have to take a short break and then we come back on that.
But Linda, unataka break sasa ile siasa.
Ni saa mbili kamili Mhesh.
Despite being visually impaired, he is a jack of all trades. It is our quest to find answers on how to take care of children with special needs and those with disability. You do not need to see musical notes to understand music, but rather to have your soul feel the vibe.
Actually, for us to make a wheelchair, we have to take measurements of the user.
After doing my assessment, I get to know the parent. I get to know the heaviness she's carrying.
Disability comes at different stages of life.
How well do you know what's happening around you? Morning Cafe with heated political debates. Baraza la Siasa.
Hiyo kitu azungumzie, angalie hali ya maisha ya watu.
Informative health discussions. Business, farming. Tasty Wednesday, Fitness Thursday, and Feel Good Friday with amazing DJs, celebs,
waimbaji, kuna comedians, alafu kuna wajinga,
and music bands every Monday to Friday from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m.
The next set of millionaires are farmers. As we know, agriculture has been and still is the backbone of our economy. As we traverse the different counties to meet different farmers, we ensure to get the story of how they started farming and even how they continue to penetrate the market and overcome the challenges.
Hapa, the reason why niliweka goose na si ducks. Goose, they are very easy to maintain.
A lot of farmers keep on calling, inquiring whether you're supposed to raise some seeds in the nursery or you're supposed to do them directly in the field.
The greenhouse helps us control the temperature because the temperature needs to be between 28 to 32 degrees.
Walk this journey with us every Sunday at 6 from the Central. It's no secret, construction ain't cheap. But how do we make it affordable? Different individuals are finding ways of cutting down cost by use of pre-stressed slabs other than reinforced concrete, recycling plastics to make pavers.
The brick is stronger, it's cheaper, and it's lighter.
And recycling wastewater in your household.
What happens to my waste from the washroom, the solid waste? All that can break down.
Those are just but a few. Every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. we talk construction.
There's no alpha without an omega. There's no lead without any followers. No man is an island. We need each other.
right, last laps of this segment. Gloria Orwoba is with us in studio. Honorable Jimmy Gakuya is as well with us this morning. And we also have Mark Bichachi, who's joining us virtually. We called you John the first time, and I was wondering.
I am
when
James.
Did you change? You were James. You know, and I was wondering why
they have just
decided to baptize you John.
Yeah, which is okay.
John the Baptist.
Yeah, of course.
Fair enough. Jimmy John more or less the same thing. Okay. Same family. Karibu sana. So you want to make a rejoinder before we get to the next thing?
I don't want to correct Mark Bichachi because I know he knows this. I think he's also just, earning a living. I'll tell you, when he states that the cabinet secretary
we'll come to you.
Yeah, when he states that the cabinet secretary who supported Ye resigned, they resigned. They resigned to join politics actively. And there's a reason why it is said that if you're going to go into politics, you must resign. They resigned. Did Matiang'i resign? Did he resign so that he can say openly in places he is publicly speaking and saying that he doesn't need anyone's permission to support Raila Odinga, that he actually is going to support Raila Odinga. In Kisii County, he stood in front of the electorate and told them that in fact, him as he sits in Nairobi with the big boys, that actually this thing is finished and people have already voted and Raila Odinga has already won. Those were Matiang'i's utterances, which no one held him account to. So, you can't say that those who are supporting William Ruto, yes, they resigned so that they could now publicly support William Ruto. What we are saying is, you are not just any other cabinet secretary. As a matter of fact, you are not just sitting somewhere in the Ministry of Arts and Culture so that we can say that even if you support, it might not necessarily affect this election. This election, it has key stakeholders. It has key players. Among them, the police services. Among them, the Ministry of Interior and Coordination. Among them, we have ICT. Among them, these are actually dockets that will directly influence the outcome of an election.
But the DP is in this government, Gloria.
When a minister of ICT, who is sitting there, who is actually supposed to work with IEBC, who's a stakeholder, sits there and openly says that we are going to ensure that Raila Odinga gets into office.
If the DP is part of government and he is not countering this successfully, how can we have the confidence that he would?
And we are, I think, 19 days. How many? 18 days. And you cannot ask questions like, you cannot say things like the deputy president is in government.
But he is.
He's not.
Gloria, that is why we're calling him member of parliament. That is the reason why that parliament is not in session, but we still call Jimmy Gakuya member of parliament of Embakasi because he is the member of parliament.
He is not in this government, and we are not going to debate it, and the electorate knows.
We will debate.
What we are going to debate is how you're going to say that Matiang'i can openly declare support for Raila Odinga, and we as the electorate should be okay with it.
So when you complain about this, Gloria, when you complain about this,
he's in charge of the police. Remember, in every single polling station, we are going to have police.
Yes.
Every single polling station are going to have police, armed police. So what are you telling me? These people are going to be reporting to chains that report to Matiang'i.
Gloria, can I say this? Can I say this? Now, when Raila Odinga says there's a problem with, how IEBC has set up some things and they need to make adjustments, you say that Raila Odinga has sensed defeat and therefore that's the reason why he's complaining about this. And now when UDA or Kenya Kwanza say that, well, the states, the officers are set there to make sure that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga wins this election.
We haven't said that. First of all, we haven't said that.
Because you've asked me when they are there, when they are at the heart of the preparation.
It's not me. It is not me who has said that. Matiang'i has come out and said that they will make sure.
So can we also confidently say that Kenya Kwanza kind of has a feeling that they are going to lose this?
Not Kenya Kwanza. No. What we are saying, we are repeating the utterances of people who are going to key stakeholders of this election. Matiang'i has come out and said that he is going to make sure Raila enters. He has said in Kisii County that, as a matter of fact, hakuna election.
But if you believe in the IEBC and the processes as the people who
Alela, I understand that we need to balance this discussion. But on matters of being pragmatic, as I've told you, in every polling station, we are going to have the clerks from IEBC. Those are the stakeholders who play their role. We're going to have a presiding officer, stakeholder also from IEBC, returning a deputy presiding officer in the polling station. Who else are we going to have in the polling station? We're going to have observers, right, of the election. We're going to have media, and we are going to have police. Who report to who? The only person in that polling station who is allowed to be armed is who?
Do you believe it's going to be a free, fair, and
I'm painting a picture. The only person, let's say in this room we are here, there's the host, there's us, there's the producer, the camera crew. The only person in this room who's allowed to be armed is who? Is a police officer. That police officer reports to a chain of command that reports to your competitor.
Yes.
So, are you asking the question, is it going to be free and fair? We are saying, for as long as Matiang'i and cabinet secretaries who are holding dockets that are directly involved in this election, as long as they cannot practice political obscurity, as long as they've come out and made utterances that they'll make sure that Raila Odinga wins, then we are actually also saying, okay, we will do our best as the electorate, as UDA, as Kenya Kwanza, but let it be known that the person in charge of all security apparatus, including the police officers who are going to be in the polling centers, are actually reporting to Matiang'i, who is pushing for Raila Odinga too.
Mark Bichachi, what is this? And before we come to you, Mushima, because I'll ask the same question. If Raila Odinga complains about IEBC, or raises a concern about IEBC, then it's because he really is preparing himself for defeat. And when Kenya Kwanza is complaining about the involvement of these cabinet secretaries in this, then really it's, what exactly is that? Perhaps Mark Bichachi, to start with you.
This is classic UDA double speak and speaking from both sides of the mouth. Where it benefits them, they say there is no rigging. Where it doesn't benefit them, they say there is rigging. And they forget that they're the ones who started saying there is rigging when they talked about Huduma numbers. Well, then they went to the United States and told all and sundry that there is rigging. William Ruto has talked about 800,000 of his voters being removed from the register. But for them, they want to come and pretend that for them it is not being scared. When they talk about these issues, they want to take the holier than thou route, which is typical Pharisee behavior, which is typical of them. But also, when Gloria says that there is a policeman with a gun at the polling station, what is he going to cast as vote? Bullets. He's going to put bullets in the ballot box. You know, that's such a weird way of saying that the election will be rigged. When in the history of this country have police been used to vote, to ballot staff? No. The people that have been used to do these things, and the courts have shown this over and over again, are IEBC officials. So it is a far stretch to say that somehow one police officer per stream is going to influence 700 people voting. As in, come on. You know, this is the conspiracy theorizing, the kind of rabble-rousing that UDA likes to do to inflame passions for no particular reason. And this is simply because they feel that every cabinet secretary who has chosen, and never mind that there are a number of very neutral cabinet secretaries, but any cabinet secretary that has chosen to say they support Azimio, they immediately create a conspiracy theory around them simply because, and I will use their words, they're scared of losing. And that's the issue. They're simply scared of losing, and they want to blame everybody other than themselves for the loss. So let's stop speaking from both sides of our mouth. If the police are an issue in terms of you think they are going to be used to somehow rig the election, tell us here. Tell us now. Tell us, how will the policeman, one policeman out of 700, be able to influence the election? Are they used in counting the ballots? Are they used in transferring the forms using the KIMS kit? Are they the ones who keep the KIMS kit? Are they the ones with the register? No, they're not.
I want to tell him,
this is classic UDA propaganda, simply because they are afraid and they want to say that their loss will be caused by Matiang'i, Huduma number, 800 votes were taken away from the ballot box, and then blame other people of being scared.
Okay, well,
I want to answer him. Let me answer. He has given me his time.
Okay.
I want to answer him. You know, Mark Bichachi hajaitisha takura mahali, so he doesn't know what it means to be a candidate and to ask for votes and to go to the ground and deal with policemen and the electorate and everything. In our party primaries, when we were at the tallying center, I had policemen, and this is not things that I'm talking. I had policemen at the very beginning when we were tallying, carrying me out of the tallying center as a candidate who wanted to observe how they were doing the tallying. I was carried out. Does that mean mean that the policemen cannot be used in any way. And actually, I protested and protested that to an extent that now when they realize they can no longer do this, based on the thing, you know, it took at least 2.5 hours. So don't, you know, Mark Bichachi sits in a boardroom and then he discusses things on a theory level. When we have chaos at a polling station during the counting, yeah, because this time and even in the previous, we are counting at the polling stations. When we are counting at the polling station and someone decides to create chaos, it takes the policeman to bring the things in order. It takes the policeman to act. That's why they're there. That is their role. If they decide to, as we have seen, like Mheshimiwa has explained what happened to the deputy president, people were throwing stones and the policemen were watching. If they decide that they are not going to intervene and do their job, that is a form of rigging. So do not come here and speak theory things, boardroom things. Yeye amekaa wapi akaitisha kura akajua how the electorate and the candidate interact with the policemen. The policemen can be a very strong asset in IEBC, or they can also be used to influence the outcome of an election. And by the way, Mark Bichachi, whatever you say cannot justify this, because he has hajaitisha kura, hajaenda kwa tallying center, hajapigana na watu ndo ajue what it is to
Hey, Mark, you donated your time to go.
No, read so that
so that Mark can
that's the opportunity. He will answer.
Okay.
What I just want to refer is an example of how police facilitates rigging. There was a by-election in Kisii, the same area, recently. And you remember very well, the candidate was arrested early morning.
Yes.
And he was close to a cell.
Yes.
And he never voted himself. He never appeared to an election.
Yes.
And he lost the election. So they are used to be part of rigging.
Yes.
And this is the correct position. And as we speak here, and we sit here, I can tell you for sure, if we have a minister who carries that particular mantle of that particular position, who cannot make the police neutral in this game, then it tells you that's a preparation to rigging. Okay. And that is it. All right. And I can tell you for sure, there is nothing much the IEBC can do if police are not neutral. Okay. Because the IEBC relies with the police service.
Exactly.
So this is recipe for disaster. Mark, as we sum it up.
Let me be very clear and let me reiterate. Gloria Orwoba, if your only teacher is experience, then you have really lacked in the wealth of education. Because number one, some of us have been chief agents, okay? I wonder how many times you've been a chief agent at a national level. Some of us have been involved in electoral petitions. I wonder how many electoral petitions you've been involved in preparing and handling. Some of us have been involved intimately in running elections, not only in Kenya, but across Africa. So if you want to come here with your small Kisii experience and tell us that now you have monopoly of knowledge, I am simply surprised and underwhelmed by how you want
Don't make it very personal.
Yet your experience has not taught you how to interact with police. No.
Your small Kisii experience.
And your high experience has not taught you about
becoming very personal.
No, but you started the personal.
Your heavy experience has not taught you about interacting with police. Come on.
Okay, well, ladies, or lady and
and Rida, finally to finalize things. Let me finalize.
Even as a chief agent, he has actually not interacted with police.
Allow me to close that chapter by saying this.
Come on.
Close it for us, sir.
I can tell you for sure.
Chief agent.
We have police officers who have instructions, but they are not against the contenders of any party.
Exactly.
So what do? They just keep quiet and watch things happening.
Do you realize that even the same police officers
they will just
are aligned to a certain party, like deep down?
Leader, can I finish? We have witnessed police watching chaos in Kibera during the by-election of Mariga, where people were beaten to hell, but the police were helpless. Yes, they are there. They are totally helpless. I can tell you, and they never arrested anybody. What does that tell you? They were under instruction. They cannot take any single action.
Perhaps they were worried
that only there.
Come for them.
I can tell you.
By the way, the police are in a very difficult role. By the way,
in this particular case, the police are being used so that the goons can be able to intimidate the voters and those areas that you expect that they are your areas of
your stronghold.
Your stronghold.
Mark Bichachi, you have to close this. Police that as well could be aligning to a certain, side, because deep down, while they would not be allowed to vote and all that, they really are aligned to a certain side, and therefore can you take instructions to not react to probably perhaps fuel this chaos some more if you are aligned to Kenya Kwanza and you suppose that this then goes against them?
And that's why the goons are not arrested in Kisii and elsewhere.
Okay.
Where are the police when this organism is going on?
Okay, but let's allow Mark, close this one for us.
Let me be clear that number one, the police are allowed to vote. They hold voters' card. And there's no way you can say that the entire police force is in Azimio. If the entire police force is in Azimio, then clearly Azimio is winning. So you cannot imagine by any stretch of the imagination that all the police are going to be used.
They are not in Azimio, but they are under instruction.
Can I finish what I'm saying?
Proceed, Mark.
You cannot say or imagine that whenever there is violence in this country, people are not arrested. The truth of the matter is people are arrested. And we've seen people getting arrested. We've seen goons getting arrested. In fact, most recently, in the violence that happened in Jacaranda that you mentioned, there were 14 people who were arrested. So why
were they taken to court? Where are they?
Listen,
we have not had any single case.
Let me finish. The biggest problem we have in Kenyan politics is politicians want to undermine institutions for political expediency. It is impossible in a republic such as Kenya to make all the police saying that 100% of the police are in Azimio, so all the instructions that be given to do all this manner of things that is being purported here, they have hearts, they have a conscience. So you cannot say that this is purely an Azimio police force. It is impossible.
Of course, Rida, I agree with him. But let me tell you, the culprits will be arrested. A phone will follow at the OSPD from above, and he will release everybody. Yeah.
But that above is also the deputy president.
That is misuse of power. Yes, by the minister of security.
Allow me, Linda, to
no, we have to
just to finalize something, and specifically to say this. As a chief agent, he should know that the police is a force that can be used by either side of the political divide. And the only thing we are calling for, as Mark Bichachi has said, when he says our biggest problem is not allowing institutions to be independent and politicians interfering, unfortunately, we have a politician by the name of Matiang'i who's actually leading an institution that is supposed to be independent. So actually, I agree with you. Politicians should stop interfering with independent institutions so that they can work. And by the time you have gone out to campaign for someone, you are a politician. So you should stop leading.
Wacha tuache unga tumalize na unga. unga. Mark, unaenda sema kitu kuhusu unga before you go.
No, the price of unga, the fact that it has been reduced and the government is doing something to reduce it is an important thing, because we need to understand that the price of living has gone too high for a lot of Kenyans. We know there is international pressure, so the government coming in to put in subsidies is a good thing. But the long-term solution is what is included in the Azimio manifesto when it talks about increasing value addition, guaranteed minimum returns to farmers, because what we need to do, other than offering fertilizer at cheap rate, etc., we actually need to incentivize people to go back into farming. And how Europe and the rest of the world has done it is by giving guaranteed minimum returns, and that's what needs to happen so that our young people can go back into agriculture. And this is the critical thing that must happen post haste. Subsidies are good, but they are only short-term solutions. And since this has become a shouting match, allow me to step away after this comment.
All right.
It's too hot. The kitchen is too hot. It only needs people who are firm.
Mark Bichachi, thank you so much for speaking to us. I know we have to release you to some other assignment, but all the same, I think some of these things really need to be addressed in whichever form.
On the Unga issue.
Yes, Unga is winding.
By the way, we are very happy. However way the government wants to deal with it, for the price to come down, everybody is happy for the price to come down. The question then becomes, how sustainable is it? And why is this price coming down now? And who made the price go up? And why are we actually not asking those pertinent questions? You know, we've talked about the subsidy program that again is being introduced by the government. If you even read, I think this is a Standard newspaper on page 4 and what they have detailed out. The first thing that you should note is that the millers or the stakeholders involved in the subsidy program are actually not confident that they will get paid, because apparently in 2017 they got into the same arrangement and they still haven't gotten paid. Because what people need to understand is when we are saying unga itashuka ikue from 200 to 100, what they're saying is that government is going to pay 105. Is it 105? 105 shillings. So really unga haijashuka. The price has remained, it's just that government is paying half of the money. Now, the question you should ask yourself is, government doesn't have money sitting somewhere that is being generated by miracles. That money that government is saying is using to pay for that unga is still coming from your pocket. You understand? It's still coming from the taxpayers. And the first thing that you need to ask yourself is, kama unga imeshuka, ni wapi wanatoa pesa kutoka kwetu kulipia hiyo 105? You understand? So at the end of the day, that's the first question. The second question is, this budget for paying for unga for the next 19 days, or is it, they were talking about 28 days, it was not approved in Parliament. It was not there even, it was not budgeted in the official budget that was released. Meaning this is a supplementary budget. If it's a supplementary budget, Kenyans should know supplementary budgets need to be approved in Parliament. So, but Parliament has been closed, and Mheshimiwa here will tell you they have not been called back to talk about supplementary budget.
They were called back the other time, and then, well,
not to talk about this supplementary
people argue
budget
that perhaps that was one of the things.
In fact, they were called back for something else, and they said, "Apana, call us for cost of living." So, but we have not seen them being called to discuss supplementary budget. So, meaning, however we are getting this money from government, the legality or the constitutionality of it, we need to question, because it will come back to bite us. Remember, by the time we were told about the KEMSA scandal, we didn't, when it was happening, we didn't know. When the tenders were being dished out illegally, not under the Procurement Act of 2015, we didn't know. We were just happy to be given gloves, those who got, or whatever, or masks, we didn't. But when the scandal came out and we saw how much money has been stolen by these cartels, we were like, why were we not subjected to the process? Why wasn't the process transparent? The other thing that you need to question, and we are happy that someone is paying 105 so that unga ishuke. We are very happy about that. But we don't want that after election we come back to be told, you remember that 105 that you are paying? Now we are going to tax you like this and like that. And we also need to know the transparency of this. The millers who are being engaged now, again, are cartel millers. You understand?
Okay.
Yes, because the small scale millers have actually come out and said, how come us, we are not being involved in the subsidy program that is there? And one thing we are talking about that is because we also, I want to put to question the ownership of Unga Limited, which is part of the people who are involved in the conversation that is going on.
I mean,
who owns Unga Limited? Who are the shareholders? Of the biggest millers because, in the country, so you'd expect because as much as you're subsidizing it for the next 28-30 days so that ishuke, we want to understand the sustainability of it. I'm glad that Mark Bichachi has highlighted what the bottom-up economic approach has always been pushing for the last 2.5 years, that our Kenya Kwanza manifesto is about ensuring that, first of all, we have high production. How do you have high production? You inject inputs. Fertilizers have to go down. You heard Martha Karua talking about kuna maduka mahali za Azimio that fertilizer need 2,500. The farmers and the electorate have never interacted with that. So at the end of the day, the sustainability of this is, even in Tanzania, they're saying they're importing maize. So even if you subsidize this, you can subsidize it, but as long as you don't have the availability of the product, as long as the produce is not actually meeting the needs of the buyers, the clients, then you're still going to have that deficit, and the price is still going to go up.
We have a minute.
So we are happy. We are happy, but please, our President Uhuru Kenyatta, be transparent in how this subsidy program is being done. Even that escrow account, let it be transparent. Who are the ones who are making money? The tax exemptions that you have put out, we need to know who are going to be the next COVID billionaires or the maize billionaires from this program, so we can hold them to account.
All right, yes. As we sum it up.
Yeah, I can say that actually the government is the cause of all these cost of living, and it is deliberate. How comes that the Kenyan government sets a budget approval of the Tana Delta maize plantation, and at the end of the day, we get nothing out of there. All the money is spent out, and you cannot tell us you account for that particular billions of money. Then the other thing, who increases the prices of petroleum every day? It is the government. Why? Because they want to spawn money out of it, and they know that every other single Kenya relies with the petroleum. If it is passenger transport, it must rely with the petroleum. If it is goods transport, it must rely with the petroleum. And they deliberately does that because they just want to collect money for a certain period, and then they want to revert back money, telling us the subsidy. It's like their own money. Then they understand that this is taxpayers' money, and taxpayers have sweated for this particular money. This is mismanagement of public resources. And leader, unless we have a government that will be a caring government, then the Kenyan citizens are not safe at all. Wow. And I can tell you for sure, let me tell you, today, when you are putting an unga to 230, and you just want to tell us the government is coming from universe, it was not there during when the time of those costs skyrocketed to that level, that they are realizing now because of the pressure put by politicians and the public. Would they be sorting our problems only when there is a crime? When this thing goes high or goes the negative way, right. Where are they? And the government was still in office.
Okay, well, interesting. Thank you so much, Mheshimiwa. I know there's so much that we can talk about this, but then for a moment, let's shelve it for another day. Honorable Jimmy Gakuya of Embakasi North, all the best again in this bid that you want to, of course, successfully take as you steer the people of Embakasi North to the next level.
Very well, Linda. Thank you very much for your good wish.
Thank you so much. I mean, you're a friend of Morning Cafe. And as much as I'm not supposed to campaign, it is only fair